Hey guys, welcome back to another Vanguard video. Today I'm going to be covering the Autumn 2025 presentation that we just had today. All of the news. First off is the ban list. I don't want to talk too much about this, but we have Trickmoon limited to 1, crazy, Bav got hit again, and then we have Scarlet Flamebow General Stirgna as well as Charmnet from Levidras unrestricted. So pretty interesting. I think the unrestrictions do kind of buff the decks a lot. Probably not as much as you would think, probably around tier 3, maybe tier 2. I think Levidras has always been good. It just really fell off in terms of like consistency with Charmnet and a lot of just popularity because people were really tired of the deck as it was really good in set 5 along with, Levidras, Bat, etc. And with Trickmoon, I think this is pretty obvious. It was going to go to 1. There is that Blaze Maiden that has been reprinted. I believe it's called Sasmadi. I'm probably saying it wrong. That can, selectively mill Trickmoon out of deck. I think Ars Vairina is also a very solid option to mill out Trickmoon. It can also mill out Veillord as well with discarded. So when you ditch it for the ride deck or for the grade 2 that pitches to a certain arm, you are getting that selective mill and setting up basically a 10k boost to your front row every turn as soon as Veillord comes out. And Cindi, it was also completely untouched as well, so the deck is still of course going to be playing 4. So I think Bav is still perfectly fine, still playable. Probably around tier 2, top of tier 2-ish, who knows, something like that. But anyways, that's pretty much enough from the ban list. I think definitely Gandeeva getting the bigger buff here. Still not enough to really make it too relevant because I think Gandeeva's early game is quite lacking. But yeah, that is pretty much it for me in terms of the ban list. Moving on, we have Liael Draconis DSR in DZ set 12, so that is very exciting. We also got Divine Z Deluxe Arc Song Collection. I'm actually personally pretty excited for this because I think the first releases that they did were really good, and the OSTs that they use in the Deluxe are also amazing. So that should come to Spotify as usual, like the previous song collections they've released digitally on the 5th of October. Then one of the more exciting collabs that we got in DZ set 11 for JP, we're getting a Frieren collab. So the Frieren anime is actually coming to Vanguard. One of the last animes I was going to expect. I would probably guess like something mainstream like Demon Slayer, but maybe Bushiroad doesn't exactly have the rights to that because they technically already have the rights to Frieren through Weiss, so it probably wasn't too hard for them. But anyways, as you can see, Kairos basically summarized the slide where they gave the information for the DZ set 11 collab. We know we're going to get a live stream on the information of the cards tomorrow. Of course, they're going to be Stark, Frieren, as well as Fern themselves, and they're all from Keter Sanctuary, so they're not from different nations, which kind of makes sense. Love and Berry was also like this, but they threw it into the set and basically just made them all, one nations just to make it easier. And also included our EXCs with hot stamp quotes, so you can basically get high rarities of the boss units, which I think is pretty cool, especially for people who really love the series and would rather play Vanguard over Weiss. But yes, Weiss did get Frieren first, and of course there's gonna be more details and basically full effects of the cards tomorrow. So we'll probably do a video on that. That might take a while to come out, but there should be a lot of cards to go through, and I think it'll be interesting. Besides the fact that there will be a lot of Keter Pile, because as a lot of people joke, Keter Pile generics is just a thing. Stirgna, Nebula Knight Order that we don't have, Teeth Fault, the usual. The list goes on and on of things you could put into Keter. But I think the Frieren collab, at least for me, is pretty exciting as someone that has watched the anime. If you're kind of whatever about Vanguard collabs, you probably don't care about this, but I think it's exciting that at least Vanguard is shown to be getting kind of a big property, and I'm hoping that, at least this will bring some new people into the game. Next up, we have an encounter unit for DZ Lyrical Booster 2, Custom Idol Alk. Fortunately, it's not Pacifica, and I don't know where Loris is. Loris is probably going to get its own Stride deck up. But yeah, we have Alk confirmed basically. We don't know if we're going to be getting a grade 4 or some other form, but we do see Persona Ride icon there and the base grade 3 form. So pretty likely that Alk will just stay on a grade 3, kind of have an effect that mimics the, older versions of Alk, kind of similar to how Labrador was adapted when it came as an encounter. But yeah, anyways, we have Alk in DZ Lyrical set 2, so we know that we're going to be getting, the same dress ups. We know we're getting Alk, so that set should be still pretty packed. And of course, a lot more announcements will come closer to the date. We know that we are getting this in January, and it is, I believe, November, I believe? Yeah, for the release date for JP, November 7th right there. So it will come a little bit later, but still quite exciting for lyrical fans. So next up, something I was really excited for is DZ set 12 Abyssal Void Burial. And as you can see, we have the Skyride protagonist. Well, technically they're the side characters because Zero's the protagonist, but we have his friends basically that are getting their own boss units as well as full arts, which I think is really exciting. So we actually have full high rarity of them as well. So we're basically getting, they didn't say what rarity it is, but it's likely manga rare, kind of like SEC with the full art. So I think that is really neat. Surprised we're not getting glitter support confirmed because that has been really absent. Like DZ set 9 didn't really have dedicated glitter support, and it's been quite a while, so that is a little concerning. But yeah, who knows where glitter support is? Maybe they'll announce it later. So here we have Suina Itomaki and this is the boss unit for the Eternal Idol Al-Sarak. And so this basically just guards and uses a bunch of cards in Soul. It very reminds me much of Sharat, so I definitely want to try out this deck. But in the manga, she has a offense and defense spell. One is a grade 3 Blitz order, and the grade 1 basically calls something out from Soul. But, you know, until we see the later volumes, we won't really know the full effects. And of course, they could always change it from what it does in the Skyride manga to when they actually print it. But I think it's really cool that these Skyride units are coming out. So we're basically getting a Skyride for every nation, essentially. Like we had Zero Tendo for Virgilia, or Virgilla, however you want to say it. We have Estashion, you know, with, what's his name, Shiki Ote. And then we also have Reiryu Shishikai, who uses the Deepland Repulagos Azanos. Now that is just a name of all time. What's really interesting is the Volume 2 unit is also Deepland in its name. So apparently that is how Kairos translated, so those two probably have synergy together. In the manga, his deck was kind of like a mix of Zorga, but more offensive. So I think it'll be really interesting to get more green decks that have effects from Skyride that are more important, because I do think these Skyride designs are really, really fun. So I really love how they've adapted it. I think Estashion is definitely one of the coolest Vanguard, or at least more unique Vanguard effect types to come out and have its own archetype, you know, with the Blast token. Virgilla, not so much, and I think people are hitting a little bit more on Virgilla now just because we know how strong it is with, you know, Bav being hit. Anyways, that's enough of me basically ranting about that. I think the designs for these units are great. I think they're much more refined as you see the full arts here, and I'm really hoping that we do get some more high rarity units for the other Skyride units as well, such as Estasha and Virgilla, because actually in Virgilla, we have the special art from the Dear Days release as a physical copy, but we never actually got that in English. So really the highest rarity you can get of Virgilla is technically either the triple rare one or the FR1. In DZ set 2. But yeah, so next up is something we will likely not get in English due to copyright, because we never got any of the other Monster Strike collabs, but here it is. There's the third volume of Monster Strike in DZ set 12, so it's actually not its own set like the previous Monster Strike collabs. And, you know, before, I'll just tell you right now, this deck was an absolute war crime. Abyssal was a broken deck when it came out. It had to get hit by a crazy ban list. And basically, if you don't know what Abyssal does, or Monster Strike, it basically has like a toolbox that it can work with, that it can guard and call things from. So I'm a little concerned of how this will be balanced power level wise in JP, but it probably won't come to English because we never got any of the previous volumes. But yeah, this deck definitely shook things up when it came to Cardfight Vanguard Standard, if you were paying attention to how good it was at the time. Basically, the deck did multiple attacks. It set your opponent's Vanguard to, I believe it was 8k. So yeah, Anastasia and Abyssal was definitely quite a strong deck. But yeah, really cool to see Monster Strike is back, but we likely won't get this in English because, you know, we never got the first two volumes. So the next reveal I think is really cool. We have master deck sets for Hikari Myoto and Erika Myojo. So Erika's shown here with Amorta, as well as Hikari Myoto with Liael Odium. So I think really what they're trying to do is, you know, keep the triple rares still being sold, because the really good triple rares for these cards are likely not to be rented, such as like Liael Draconis, because that literally just came out. But, you know, that could change. They could still reprint it in this master deck set. But I think these will be really good beginner products, kind of like how we saw the master deck sets for Michiru and Ura, for Leonore and Jojo respectively. And I do think that these are good unless they do have a Regulus piece, because I personally don't like having to get one of each master deck set just in order to get a specific Regulus piece, especially if it's really, really good. I think Shroud and Shadow was really, really strong, but not necessarily needed. On TCG Player and other things, it's still very, very expensive, but you didn't really need it in every deck, kind of like Twin Cast. So I hope they don't repeat this same pattern again. We do have triple rare PR packs, so you will likely be able to get, you know, triple rare or signed, you know, promos of each of these characters in the deck set, which I think is really cool for people who are big fans of these decks, and they will hopefully be good beginner decks as well. It's just these decks are kind of in a weird spot right now. I think Liael Draconis is kind of looking strange. With the new triple rare, it's a little bit better, probably around maybe tier 2, tier 3. It's really weird. Odium's probably tier 3-ish, kind of weird. Like, it kind of fell off in terms of popularity. Same with like Levidras. It's still a really strong deck when it goes first, but when it goes second, it's pretty tough, especially when you don't kill on that turn 4. Like, you have to live their Persona Ride turn essentially in order to get your Divine skill off. And also, you know, in like Artisaria matchup, it's pretty much unwinnable. So, you know, it's kind of in a really weird spot in terms of Odium. Like, Artisaria isn't even that popular, but I do really want to see how they will continue to support these decks, because them being in a master deck set and being able to just pick up a few triple rares from a new set and upgrade them is really, really, you know, highlighting them in terms of like how Bushiroad wants to proceed with supporting Divine Z. But yeah, that is pretty much enough yapping from me about the master deck sets. And so we have the schedule for the next few months for JP. Again, this won't be the same as English. The middle one right above the Lyrical DZ set 2 booster is a reprint of the Leonore master deck set, because, you know, set 11 is coming out soon in JP and has the brand new Leonore Trumman. Then of course you have set 12, the 2 master deck sets, and of course set 11 that is going to have, you know, Leonorn, Jiva, Prison, a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, pretty exciting. Of course, we're also going to get the new Dredge and Rezel cards, which I'm hoping are going to be really good because we're going to get that Friday episode. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up all the live stream information that we had for today. In case you don't know, Bushiroad New Year stream on the 12th of January, there's even the 15th anniversary logo in there. So if you were a little bit disappointed by the news, which I did see a lot of people, you know, kind of voice, which is perfectly understandable, I do think the big announcements, like a Stride deck set, will be in this live stream. So it's really weird this is the 12th of January because this is like mid BCS. I believe this is around Vancouver's BCS date. It's like really weird. But you know, this is basically before, I believe, set lyrical release, because I believe lyrical release for us in English is the end of January. So this is between set 11 and lyrical release, but we will get big news, probably do anime production information, because, you know, Divine Z is about to wrap up by the 12th episode, and we saw that today because we have Michiru versus Akina, and then likely it's going to be Akina versus, you know, main protagonist versus Erika in the finals, and who knows how that will go. But yeah, that is pretty much it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful to just summarize all the news. I kind of rambled a little bit for the master deck sets because I wanted to give my thoughts in terms of products of how they will come. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, that's pretty much my wish list for what the Bushiroad New Year stream would be. Let me know what you guys think, what you're hoping to see from this 15th anniversary. Pretty big, probably a bunch of merch too, obviously. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.